on there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 70 times 1,000 times.
So what happened to what people call me and said they're going to
I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Just a little item. Anything that has to do with electronic devices, please put them on silent. Thank you. Nicole, if you can start with a roll call.
Counselor Lavin.
Here.
Counselor Peeler. Counselor Grimaldi.
Here.
Counselor Gilat.
Here.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Here.
Counselor Morocco. Counselor Brennan.
Here.
Counselor Whitfield.
Here.
Mayor Valentino.
Here. I believe we've got one counselor that will be here shortly. Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing on short-term rental ordinance. Does anybody like to speak at the public hearing for short-term rentals?
Actually, Mayor, if you guys could make a motion, if the council could make a motion to open the public hearing, that'd be great.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Gilat, seconded by Councilor Petropoulos. And do we do roll call or?
You can do roll call or a simple, ayes and nays.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for keeping me in line, Counselor. So the public hearing is now open for short-term rentals. And I don't see anybody approaching the podium, so we'll close the public hearing. I'd also like to make a motion to amend.
Mayor, sorry, the council should make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Sorry.
This is new for me, Robert. I appreciate the guidance,
Where
but
do
it
we
is
get
new.
these guys anyway?
So we need another motion to close the public hearing. Councilor Petropoulos, seconded by Councilor Gilat. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you, Councilor. Next, I'm going to make a motion to amend the agenda to add a resolution on the fee for short-term rentals. We missed not adding that to the agenda in a timely manner, so we're going to add that. So I will make the motion. I need a second. Councilor Gilat with a second. Clerk, please call the roll on amending the agenda, adding the short-term resolution rental license fee.
Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Morocco.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan. Oh, I'm sorry. Counselor Whitfield.
Okay, we have one more amendment to the agenda, and that's a resolution amending the general fund budget and sewer fund budget for sewer repairs, which was in the city manager's update. So I'm making a motion to amend the agenda to add the resolution for the general fund and sewer fund budget for sewer repairs. Need a second?
Second.
Councilor Petropoulos, clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Peeler.
Here.
No, it's a vote.
Counselor Grimaldi.
After one more?
Yeah.
Did you get it, Councilor Grimaldi?
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Morocco.
Aye.
Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Counselor Whitfield.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye. Okay. Next, we have two proclamations. The first one is going to be on Juneteenth. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed an Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the slaves of the Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. It was on June 19th, 1865, that the Union soldiers finally reached Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and the enslaved were now free. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by African American community for over 150 years. Whereas the goal of Juneteenth celebration is to raise awareness about the historical and cultural significance of that day, and to build and strengthen relationships. The work to achieve liberty and justice for all is never ending, and our country will not rest until equality is real. Opportunity is universal, and all citizens are empowered to realize their dreams. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Valentino, Mayor of the City of Geneva, New York, proclaim June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth, and I encourage the people of the City of Geneva to observe this day with appropriate civic community and service programs in our city, and to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history. Next proclamation is on Pride Month. Whereas June 2024 marks the 55th annual celebration throughout the United States of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, LGBTQIA+ Pride Month. Pride Month is an opportunity to celebrate the progress made to recognize and protect the rights of LGBTQIA+ communities, and to reflect on the work that still needs to be done. And whereas the City of Geneva joins the LGBTQIA+ community in a celebration and opportunity to come together and celebrate the vibrant diversity of the community. Pride Month is a time to acknowledge the challenges faced by this community and to stand in solidarity with their fight for equality, acceptance, and human rights. Pride Month is a joyful and colorful display of love, unity, and resilience. Whereas meaningful contributions to this community enhance our city's diverse history and culture, and the City of Geneva believes in bringing together the individuals, organizations, and communities to advocate for the LGBTQIA+ rights and celebrate the progress made towards a more inclusive society. And whereas Pride Month serves as an opportunity for members of the community, their loved ones, and allies to come together to celebrate who they are and who they love, while promoting the ongoing cause of acceptance, equality, and freedom for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Valentino, Mayor of the City of Geneva, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Pride Month in the City of Geneva, and encourage everyone in our city and surrounding areas to take advantage of this opportunity to build bridges of understanding, respect, and celebration. And let everyone know that the City of Geneva stands against discrimination in all forms and promotes human rights and dignity of all persons. Next, we have our Foundry update.
This will be the New York State DEC's final update for the former Geneva Foundry offsite cleanup project. All excavation and most restoration activities are complete. The NYS DEC project team will continue to coordinate with the Director of Public Works regarding remaining project activities. Remedial design. The New York State DEC's engineering contractor prepared specs for road milling and repaving to be completed during summer or fall 2024 on certain city streets that experienced construction traffic from the Foundry project. As discussed with the Director of Public Works, Joe Benuti, the NYS DEC will mill and repave State Street, Jackson Street, and Genesee Park Place, and portions of Genesee Street, Center Street, and Middle Street. New York State DEC's construction contractor will contract with a paver, and the New York State DEC project team will coordinate with the DPW to notify residents of the impacted streets prior to the start of paving. Remedial construction. Remediation of 2 residential parcels located on Tillman Street and Clinton Street were completed. Remediation of the State Street parcel owned by the city and used as a project staging area was completed. As of April 22, 2024, all excavation work related to the New York State DEC's remediation of off-site properties impacted by the former Geneva Foundry site is complete. Replacement plants and trees were installed at additional properties that were remediated in 2023 and 2024. Substantial completion is expected by the end of June. Demobilization from the project staging area on Geneva Street was completed. Demobilization from the project staging areas on Lehigh Street is expected by the end of June. The State Street staging area will remain for use by New York State DEC's contractor during the repaving of city streets later this year.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a supervisory update, but I don't see any of our county supervisors here. So we will continue on. Consideration of meeting minutes, we have April 10th, April 29th, May 1st, and May 13th. I need a motion to accept the minutes. I have Counselor Lavin, seconded by
So moved.
Counselor Peeler. Clerk, please call the roll on approving the minutes.
Counselor Peeler,
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi,
Aye.
Counselor Gillette,
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos,
Aye.
Counselor Morocco, Counselor Brennan,
Aye.
Counselor Whitfield,
Aye.
Counselor Lavin,
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next is public comment, and first on my list is Gregory Peck. Okay, got it. Okay, I don't see Mr. Peck. If you do see him come in, before we're done with public comment, we'll let him speak. Next is Adrian Braun. Welcome, Adrian.
Hi, my name is Adrian Braun. I am living presently at Lafayette Avenue. I wanted to talk to you this evening about bees. Let's go to tomatoes first. Has anybody picked a wonderful ripe tomato from their backyard garden in July and just bit into something so fantastic? Me too. I love those tomatoes. So, back to bees. The NRDC reported in 2020-22 that 42% of honeybee hives had died out that year. This trend continues. We don't know about the wild bee populations so much, but we fear the same is for them too. Bees love their version of tomatoes, which is native plants. So plants like dandelions that people call weeds, and clover, white clover, which they bloom around 2 to 4 inches. So the bees love that in the springtime. The bees also love red clover. So red clover only blooms around 10 inches high. And fleabane, it doesn't bloom until it's 20 inches high. And daisies don't bloom until they're about 10 inches high. So here we have fleabane, clover, white clover, and daisies. So all of those bloom at different heights. So how can I help bees with all these different heights? So I decided to do No Mow May, which I heard about. And No Mow May is just what it says it is. You don't mow your lawn for just the month of May. So I didn't mow my lawn the month of May, and all of these wildflowers plus more that just grow in the grass with the grass bloomed, and the bees were feasting on them. It was the best food for them. You might say, well, what about ornamental plants? Ornamental plants, I have petunias. I have geraniums. Don't the bees love that? Unfortunately, not as much as the native blooms. So the bees love native blooms. They want that good food that the native blooms provide. So I did No Mow May, and then I mowed my lawn, but I did give the bees a chance to have all those wonderful blooms, that wonderful food, just like you can pick that wonderful ripe tomato in your backyard. It was a smorgasbord. It was a salad bar of all the best foods you can imagine. So my bees had that for that month to give them a good start. Now, I love apples, peaches, avocados, coffee. All of these need a pollinator. Pollinators are dying off. Bees are dying off. So if I can encourage those bees and feed those bees for that month, maybe I can help them a little bit. So that's why I did No Mow May, and that's why my tomato plant is growing tomatoes right now, because of bees pollinated that tomato bloom so that my tomatoes could grow, so I could have that wonderful tomato plant. Yes.
Adrian, I apologize for interrupting, but there is a three-minute
I'm
limit
done.
on public comment. You probably weren't aware of that, which I understand. Can you find a way to wrap it up?
Well, basically, I just want to say I would love to continue No Mow May just for the month of May, so I can help the bees. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Very educational. Thank you.
Before you go, though, please, one question. What about June? Is June
My
important?
lawn is mowed.
So
well,
is June
they-
important?
They would love to have those, but I understand that my neighbors also like to have nice, neat lawns. So I wanna help my neighbors
Sure.
feel happy.
I'm just
in
trying to
their homes.
balance things out here.
But
Okay.
you're right, they would enjoy having,
But tonight, we're just talking about
Yeah.
May.
Council, yeah.
Thank
Public
you.
comment, one more. Okay. Thank you very much, Adrian.
thanks.
Next is Catherine Price.
Good evening. So I just came to give a bid update for what we accomplished last month. All the hanging baskets are now up. Seneca and Exchange Street plantings are in. We're about to start mulching. Our teams are watering, taking care of loose trash, garbage mowing, weeding. Light poles were paused while we were hanging all of the banners and planters and deploying all the baskets, but we're about to start resuming those either at the end of this week or next week. And then I wanted to let you all know that we got a Keep America Beautiful grant. So we received from them 12 cigarette receptacles, 200 car ashtray receptacles, what they call pocket ashtrays, which is kind of interesting. So this grant comes with recycling the cigarette butts from around town, and it goes to TerraCycle that upcycles them into plastic pieces. And we have that service for free for 5 years. The bid will be taking care of this. We also wanted to let you know that we have a kayak primer. Councilor Jalot will talk about this more when he talks about our events. But this Saturday at 11 o'clock, we have an ACA instructor coming in. He will have kayak and equipment on the ground so that everybody can see what you need to get started. To celebrate that, also, we're doing Paddle Fest on the 29th of June. So that's between 11 and 4, so people can get in the water, try a kayak, see what they think about it. I have been in touch with the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor about what we're doing, and we are now on the Erie Canalway Water Trail and are a suggested activity of the Canalway Challenge. So that'll hopefully bring more people to Geneva. I wanted to take a minute to talk about Lakefront volunteers, because Lakefront volunteers weeding Wednesdays and setting big crews to help at the lakefront. I know that there's been a lot of public comment about the city not doing their job, and I wanted to make sure that I stand up for DPW, because any chance that they get, they really, really do help everywhere they can. And I know that we're going into budget season, so I wanted to make sure that you are aware that this is a resource issue. Last year and the year before, the bid grant stayed even, but without the money from the LDC and the IDA, we wouldn't have been able to complete all the services that we have. So just as you're starting to look at the budget, keep that in mind as we move forward. I know that the park was installed at the lakefront in about 2016. The volunteers felt like it wasn't being taken care of, and I've been having pushback from the volunteers who want to make sure that the city recognizes that they are doing this work free of charge. DPW is assisting where they can, but they would love it if we could have the resources allocated next year in the form of additional staff and qualified staff to help take care of all of our wonderful new plants, native plants that are at the lakefront and now in downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Vivian Paolini.
This is round 2.
I came the first time to complain about my sickness, and it's all about the water. This is the water we have at the, I live in 260 West North Street, okay? And I continue to have, to see the doctor and to have tests and whatever. And finally, I went to see the health department, Ontario Health Department, and I talked to the engineer. He came out. I called him. So he told me what is happening. It's the hot water, not the water that you send Dave. Your water is clean, it's fine, but it's the hot water is the tank. So I told him about the hot water, and I said, when we take a shower, we are not clean, we are dirty. So he explained to me what's happening. There is in the tank hot water. I must tell you that this hot water is 30 years old. When every 10 years it should be changed, but they didn't. So he told me inside there is the galvanic protection device, and this device wears out and is made of zinc. So the tank is is iron. So when the electricity with the water attacks the tank, it eats the iron of the tank and it goes into the water, and we got the water on ourselves. I am allergic, I am sensitive to everything, so I feel it. I don't go to hospital because they would kill me. Anyway, this engineer told me, it's true.
I believe you, Vivian. For different reasons, I believe you.
This engineer told me some of what I was feeling, and it's loss of weight, fog brain, depression, liver pain, joint pain, huge allergy that I had 2 weeks ago, and other things. So I said, what can I do? He said, the only person that can help you, first of all, I want to show you my glove. This is a glove I had for 6 months, and it's all dirty of the water. This is iron. This is when it goes on your skin just absorbed it. It's not stay and go, it stays in. So he told me that the only person that can help me is the code enforcement man. And he gave me the name Neil Bramman. I phoned, but when he phoned, I was at my doctor to have some more blood tests for heavy metals, for all these things that were not done before. So I phoned that day, he phoned me back, but I couldn't answer. And when I went out of the doctor, it was too late to phone. So I phoned the next day, but he never answered. I phoned 2 or 3 times, but he never phoned me back. Now, I want your help, because this thing must be stopped. Okay? We can't go on with a tank that the water eats the iron, and the iron goes on ourselves. I can see from my hair and everything. I have rashes when I take the shower. I have rashes all over. It's incredible. So then once I went again, I brought her one of these this thing that I keep to show, and the handyman did clean the tank, and the water comes clean for a couple of weeks. This is 3 weeks, and it's already dirty. And it should be white like this, but this is the water. So Now I want, if it's possible.
So Vivian, I'm going to stop you because we're over limit, but
I
want
finished.
to thank you for at least determining that it wasn't the incoming water, because that, I don't want to start a public scare that we have bad water. So thank you for verifying that, and your engineer verified that. And I believe the city manager has already sent a message to Neil. The challenge there is our code enforcement can cite the issue, but your landlord or your property owner I would recommend, did you go to them first?
They won't do anything
Okay.
because they don't do anything. The place is filthy.
So hopefully, if there's a code violation, it can drive the property owner to do something proper.
Yeah, but one thing I want to ask. If he phone and to see what is happening, she will have it clean again. That's what she did when Dave came. The water was clean.
Yeah.
But he must come surprise because she's twit, that woman. And he must go and look at the thing that actually is full of iron, and we got all the iron on us.
It's time to replace the hot water heater, it sounds like.
Hot water,
Yep.
yes.
All right. Thank
And
you.
the tank must be changed. Now the EU bought the hospital and the building. But if nothing comes out of you, I will have to go to EU in Rochester
Okay. Thank you, Vivian.
to bang some heads.
Next, I have AJ Moore. AJ, I'm hoping you're going to tell me why everybody's here.
Good evening, members of Geneva Student Council, or Geneva City Council. My name is AJ Moore, and I'm here on behalf of Geneva Middle School Student Council and our president, Marco Palmisano, who regretfully is unable to attend today's meeting due to prior obligations. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about an exciting proposal that we believe will greatly benefit our community, especially the youth. We are here to present an idea for establishing an arcade in downtown Geneva.
You're here.
As students, we recognize the importance of having a safe, enjoyable, recreational activities outside of school hours. Currently, there are limited options for middle school students to engage in fun and wholesome activities downtown. An arcade would provide a fantastic venue where kids can gather and socialize and enjoy themselves in a secure, supervised environment. Arcades are more than just places to play games. They foster communities, encourage social interactions, and can also be educational. Many arcade games develop skills such as hand-eye coordination, problem solving, and strategic thinking. Additionally, a downtown arcade would attract families and tourists, contributing to the vibrancy of the economy of our city center. We envision an arcade that is exclusive and welcoming to all. It would be designed with variety of games and activities suitable for the different age groups and interests. Moreover, we propose incorporating elements that promote healthy competition and teamwork, such as multiplayer games and tournaments. From an economic perspective, an arcade could boost local businesses. Families visiting the arcade are likely to spend time at the nearby restaurants, cafes, and shops, enhancing the overall commercial activities in the area. This influx of visitors would create a positive ripple effect benefiting the entire community. To ensure the success and sustainability of the arcade, we suggest partnering with local businesses and organizations for sponsorships and support. We also propose involving students in the planning operation phase, providing valuable learning experience and sense of ownership within the community. In conclusion, establishing a downtown arcade aligns with the goal of making Geneva a more vibrant and youthful city. It offers more of a safe, enjoyable and education space for students, encourage economic growth, and strengthens community bonds. We, the Geneva Middle School Student Council, are enthusiastic about the project and are eager to work with the City Council to make this vision a reality. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your time and consideration. We hope you share the excitement for this innovative and look forward to support for initiative and look forward to your support. Sincerely, Asaya Jordan Lee Moore.
AJ, thank you very much. I can see you sitting in this seat in the future, so great public speaking. And I was just on vacation, and I spent 2 hours in an arcade with the rest of the team I was with, so we like it. One suggestion, your group, what would be nice is if you're going to work with council or staff on this in the future, is come up with a set of rules or regulations, responsibility, what you would expect the atmosphere to be like, and maybe a list of rules that people would abide by in that atmosphere, okay?
Yep. And I hope you wouldn't mind if we gave you the little petition that my
Sure.
classmates.
Yep. Will you do me a favor and hand it to the city clerk? That way it gets filed and it'll be in our files.
Your Honor, Mr. Moore is a product of the Boys and Girls Club, St. Peter's Arts Academy, and went to Europe with the choir this year, and we're big fans.
There you go. Very seasoned and experienced. Thank you.
Not to mention Geneva wrestling. All right.
And Mr. Mayor, I might add there are 300+ names on that petition, to students and teachers,
Excellent.
kids of all ages.
I can tell you, reminisce back in the 70s, and Councilor Lavin will remember this with me, but our armory used to hold pinball tournaments. And they would line up all the pinballs in the armory. I see you back there. And we would go there and have a great time and be competition. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Can I get you to the speaker? That way everybody can hear you? Please. Can you get to the podium and the speaker so other people can hear you? This is being YouTubed. No problem. It's a pleasure to see you.
Shirley Reed.
Sure, that's awesome.
We've been active with the youth now for years, sorry. One of the things too, because a lot of the kids, my daughter, when she graduated, Stacy down in Albany now, she was saying, Ma, I know the council, the success for Geneva's children, this and that. You're gearing things for elementary school, you're gearing things for the seniors. She said, but kids that graduate, some of us graduated from 17 to 21, there's nothing for them to do in Geneva. And I said, yeah, that's why the black kids are leaving. She said, Ma, it's not just the black kids. She said, the white, the Caucasian, all, because there's nothing for that age group. She said, you need to start thinking about something for them, that age group. She said, so they go to hotels, they get somebody to rent a room for them. They have parties in the hotel or whatever. So because there's nothing for them to do. So we have to look out for that age group. And also with the middle school, because a lot of kids, I think it was one of the best ideas that the family that donated the land for the community center. But in the wintertime, especially the ones that are downtown, that's a long walk in the wintertime. So there is a need. Growing up, we had the YMCA. We had the YMCA across the street. We had the Civic Center. We had this, that. But there's nothing downtown for the, I hate to say it, but we have the smoke shops. We have the wineries. We have, you got to start thinking of something else besides that. There's more to Geneva than the wineries, the smoke shops. And I'm not knocking anybody's business, whoever's in here, but our kids have so much more to offer. And we got to start thinking about, like you said, that age group. They have almost 200 signatures on their little petition because they want something to do downtown. They don't want to have to go way out, on Carter Road. So I commend them for that. I think it's a great idea, and it's something that we need to look into. And I know I haven't been, since I moved back to Geneva, I haven't been very active, but I used to come to every city council meeting, every meeting that, on every committee it was in Geneva, I think. But, like I said, it's time for me to get involved again, and I intend to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Shirley.
Yeah. It's a good start.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the city manager report.
All right. So we'll start with some DPW updates. DPW, we're going to talk a little bit more about the sewer repair. That repair is continuing. So people have seen it, it's on 8 to 10 Castle Street, and there's some diversion of traffic between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. The crews are also continuing to pick up spring and lawn and tree debris. That will continue for the remainder of the month. And they're performing vegetation maintenance operations throughout the city. So they are very active and involved right now. The Resource Recovery Park is also still remains open on Wednesdays and Saturdays. The marina, the Edgewater consultants who have assisted with the development of the marina plan are working to release a request for qualifications for the marina project as the next step in going out to bid. There is currently a draft that is sitting with Department of State and some of our other funders who are largely financing this project. The request for qualifications takes the project that started in 2016 and brings it to going forward today. Properties in the city, there's a foreclosure auction set on Wednesday, June 26th. There are many properties that the city will be putting up for auction. There are signs throughout the town. There's also signs, our property list on our website. The auction company will be doing some showings of the safe to enter properties on June 24th or Tuesday, June 25th. So go to the auction website and there will be more. Residential flooding assistance for residents who were impacted by the July 7th, 2023 storm. There is a center that has been set up in Hopewell to assist people in applying for disaster assistance loans for residential or commercial property that were damaged during that time period. The center will only be there through June 13th, but people can apply longer. There was an article recently in the Finger Lakes Times that the Small Business Administration Office had put in there, letting people know that there are loans available. It is not a grant program, it's a loan program, but there is assistance available. The recreation complex, we do have proposals that came in for that study. Staff are currently reviewing those proposals and will determine the next steps in the process. That study looks at how we're using that recreation complex, so it aligns with some of the discussion we just had, maintenance of the complex and operations of the complex. For city, we are currently recruiting, so there are seasonal positions open in the Department of Public Works for this summer, and we'll soon be commencing a search for a grants coordinator position, which will assist all departments in maintaining the grants throughout the city. This has been something we had previously sought and weren't able to bring to the finish line, but at this time we feel that we can explore it, and we'll be working with some grant resources to make that position whole. We'll also be releasing in the near future the Community Engagement Coordinator position, which was created in the 2024 budget to be released mid-year, and we're now at mid-year. On recruitment, police chief search, thank you to every community member that has stopped me in Wegmans, talked to me in multiple places, watched the YouTube, viewed the actual meeting here, has reached out to express their interest in this. It is definitely, as are all of our senior positions, they are people that serve the public, and so it's very important that I've heard from them. I'm reviewing all of the materials, and a special thank you to all the members of the community stakeholder group comprised of representatives from law enforcement, public safety, schools, higher education, nonprofits, community members, and the Police Budget Advisory Board. We'll be bringing them back together, or we have brought them back together, and I will be moving that next process forward so we can have a new chief on board before the end of the month. One other survey that homeowners can reach out to, we have launched a housing repair survey interest form. So this is an interest form for people, homeowners and tenants, to help identify repair needs that could support future grant applications. There's not currently funds for that, but in order to get the funds, you have to have the list of the homes that you would be working on. And so we are asking those homeowners to respond. It is on our website. It's on, I believe, the Planning and Economic Development Department's website. Have people go ahead and fill out that form. It doesn't guarantee that we will have that funding, but it's the first step to get that funding so we can then continue with the repairs. And I think that is all for updates from me at this time.
Thank you. Next is a resolution we tabled. It's coming back on the agenda. It's a resolution setting the fee for short-term rental license. And I'm going to ask Mr. West to present that in a short version.
He has a seeker form for you, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. Know my torture.
But not for this one. So this resolution is the same resolution you've seen before, except with the numbers changed based on our discussion in the working session and staff's recommendation that we set the fee at $250 per bedroom rented. That provides some additional equity for properties that say just rent a bedroom out of their house and they're using the rest of it. They're not paying a really large fee, but it still covers our expected costs of running the program that manages the short-term rental licensing.
Thank you. I need a motion. Councilor Pachopoulos, seconded by Councilor Peeler. Discussion. Councilor Lavin.
I'm going to vote against this because I'm hoping that the delay that the county's putting into this overall effort will give us a chance to reassess this whole effort. I know that we discussed it at length last meeting. The calls I've had since and some further research suggests that we're sliding down a pretty bad path towards diminishing housing for the middle class and lower, and putting houses that will come up for sale with these new high assessments in a position where they can only be used as short-term rentals. All of which, something we didn't consider the first time we went at this, was that 123 or 125 houses already taken out of the market is going to significantly reduce our census in a city that's already been losing population over the last years. These houses 123 houses usually have about 4 people per house. We will have census issues that will affect federal and state reimbursement for things. So I don't know that we've looked at all the ramifications of what we're doing, and I'm hoping that we can revisit this while it's still in discussion with the county.
Anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Gilat?
Aye.
Counselor Pachopoulos?
Aye.
Counselor Morocco? Counselor Brennan?
Abstain.
Counselor Whitfield?
Nay.
Counselor Lavin?
Nay.
Counselor Peeler?
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi?
Nay.
Mayor Valentino?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next, into new business is a resolution authorizing the WIAA drinking water grant application, and I believe that's going to be by the city manager. I saw Joe still upstairs.
Joe is still upstairs. So this is an authorization to apply for grant funding we currently have WIA grant funding for our wastewater treatment plant. This will be grant funding for our water treatment plant. And while Joe is upstairs, I know David has also been working on this, so if there are additional questions, what this resolution does, though, is allows us to go ahead and apply for that funding. And I believe you've already been through a SEQR review related to that.
Okay, I need a motion. Councilor Gilat, seconded by Councilor Grimaldi. Any discussion? Councilor Pachopoulos.
Yes, I did take the liberty of going on to reading the resolution. It would seem the grant does pay for most of it. I'm still wondering, is the town getting free water? What's going to happen with the town? I just want to know.
So the town doesn't get free water from us. We have an agreement with them. It needs to be updated. And so this helps our facility. This is not, it doesn't, the variables of contracting or selling our products someplace else is not impacted by this. It just improves the quality of our water.
Okay. Councilor
This
Grimaldi?
doesn't commit us to a project, right?
Nope.
It's just, all it is basically is funding, grant funding, and I know that it's, in the future, they're probably going to beef up the requirements. So we're just kind of looking at going forward. It's not really us spending a pile of money to put something in.
Correct. This is just a grant project. It has to do with the regulations that the EPA is setting and currently working through, dealing with PFASs and how we regulate that. We don't know what all of those limitations from that regulation. We keep seeing glimpses of that, or where there will be funds to meet those those new criteria. So what this does is sets us up to be prepared that when the new regulations come down, we will already be there and working with our product. And to be clear, we're already meeting all of those regulations.
I see Council Lavin, then Council Peeler.
Just a moment, I realize this isn't exactly on point, but I do want to remind that this councilor and perhaps others would like to know what the process is going to be for renegotiating the sewer and water with the town. It's not clear to me what role the council has played in the past and when the conversations have begun, but it's a point of collaboration and perhaps some incentive for other things that the town and city can do together as we negotiate those. I've heard people say we don't want to use it as leverage. I'd like to discuss that point too as well at some point. So I don't know if it's a special session but I would prefer not to discover that the ship has left the port and they're just hoping we'll come along later.
Yeah. So on that, the wastewater treatment plant is going through a headworks flow study, a capacity study. Once we have that study, and we'll do something similar with the water treatment plant, from there you would look at your rates and set your rates with an outside consultant assisting with that. When you talk about, I'm going to use it in terms of selling your product. So our product is water or treatment of wastewater. When you're selling your product and you're a municipal entity, you can't sell it to make a profit. You have to sell it to cover certain costs and all of that. So there's a lot that goes into that. And then those two studies will allow us to see what we have and what we can expand. The other piece to that is there are federal and state agencies involved in that, and they make a lot of decisions about our plants. While they may be ours, they are regulated by them, and they determine sometimes who will be tying in or how we will be partnering with other entities. And so it's a much bigger conversation, and we've talked about bringing all of the entities together to even begin to talk about the rate study and those pieces, to have a fair conversation with all of the entities to say, if we're going to continue to have this really important facility, how do we all work together? And so we're at the very initial stages because this headwork study needs to be completed before we can even go there.
Right. I just do want to explain whenever possible that the use of a city asset for our surrounding communities is a big issue for this council and for this community. And I know the feds can be involved, the state can be involved, but full transparency so these councilors know what they're giving away and for what price.
Council Peeler.
Yeah, real quick, I just want a little bit of financial clarity because I think I'm understanding it because we talked about this before actually. This is a state-funded study.
The study is not part of this the grant.
The grant.
Yep. The grant application is state money.
And that's New York State money.
Yes.
And that still does come out of our New York State taxes.
Correct.
Just not our local taxes.
Correct. And there may be federal taxes or
Associated
federal
with it?
yeah.
Okay, but the
I'm
state
not
is
sure
the
of this
delivery mechanism, the
Yep.
pass-through unit or whatever.
Yep.
Also, do you foresee any increase in staff or specialists that are going to be associated with the overhead if this comes to fruition?
I don't believe so. I don't think we've seen anything with
Okay.
that. I think not with this grant coming forward. New regulations and what the regulations are going to do, yes, there will be increased costs, but we have to meet those regulations. So I don't know what that looks like yet.
And finally, has the state mandated any type of, political or social justice pledges associated with this grant that we have to give a pledge to receive this money?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe so.
I'm not sure how broadly you construe that, but a lot of state contracts have, WNBA.
Yes.
I'm talking about this
Goals.
one. This one.
This will have WNBA. It'll have certain contracting language that we always have to.
We have to make a pledge or an oath.
We have to show that we have that language, or if we have a policy. So things like, I'm trying to think of some of the policies you've written.
Equal opportunity employment, following fair housing. I don't know how that would fall in this one.
Underwater,
but,
yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Council Prochopoulos.
Yes, maybe my memory's gone a little foggy since January, but I do recall when we toured the water plant, there are 4 high-tech, unused, I believe, filters. Are those ever going to get used, or are the regulations changed again, and are those, I mean, maybe I totally forgot, but I was told these nice filters aren't being used.
I'm not going to attempt to answer that one without my water treatment staff to fully explain what filters are not. I knew he would come down because he's watching it on YouTube upstairs.
Good time.
Thank
Jim,
you,
I was
Joe.
hoping not to come down, but thank you.
Tag, you're it. Did you hear the question?
I did. This would be, the grant we're seeking is for a carbon activated treatment system. This would be in addition to the microfiltration system that you are referring to, and also our existing slow sand filter. So it's an inline, always redundancy with water and wastewater. You'll hear that often. It's another form of protection.
So it's all the above. Thank you, Mr. Venuti. Appreciate it.
That's it.
Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you, Joe.
So this is like a giant Brita.
You could call it that.
Carbon is used.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you.
Counselor Petropoulos?
Aye.
Counselor Morocco? Counselor Brennan?
Aye.
Counselor Whitfield?
Aye.
Counselor Lavin?
Aye.
Counselor Peeler?
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi?
Aye.
Counselor Gilat?
Aye.
Mayor Valentino?
Aye.
Carried.
Next is a resolution in support of pro-housing communities pledge presented by David West.
Thank you. This resolution does commit us to a pledge. The governor's budget included this requirement that for many of the biggest housing funding programs, communities need to take steps towards increasing the ability to build housing. The things that they want to see communities do are streamlining permitting processes to get more units online, make sure that they're taking steps to affirmatively further fair housing, doing education in the community so that people understand fair housing law, incorporating regional housing needs into their planning decisions, increasing the development capacity for residential units, and generally encouraging a broad range of housing development in the community. There's a number of programs that you can now not win funds from without being in this pro-housing community system, and most of the other grants I think are following where this is now a extra points, which is going to mean that in order to be competitive, even though it's not required, in order to be competitive, you're going to have it. I strongly recommend it. It is a non-binding, it commits us to working on these things. It doesn't commit the city to any particular action. But I think all of these actions are good things that are kind of in our plans and processes already, things that we're working on. This sort of formalizes it in the very specific wording that the state requires. So I'm happy to answer questions about it. I do want to note the resolution is not editable. It's either agree or disagree.
Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Counselor Lavin, second by Counselor Whitfield. Discussion. I'll start off a little bit. I wish the governor in her 30 executive orders, because I really appreciate the push for new housing. And in the city of Geneva, if the governor really wants to help us, she can provide infrastructure support to put some roads and utilities in undeveloped properties. And I'm going to jump on my high horse and talk about starter homes that they did in the 50s that made it economically feasible for people to get into a starter home and then be able to develop those starter homes into further homes as they moved along. But I really wish we could get some of that infrastructure support rather than just pledging. It's kind of like we're being held to a certain standard in order to get other funding that doesn't seem to relate to that specifically. But I understand the reason for the resolution, so thank you. Councilor Peeler.
I would like to echo your comments, and I also lament and I'm frustrated with our New York State lawmakers who seem to neglect and completely ignore homeowners of existing homes who need infrastructure repair. And there's almost zero subsidy for those people. You can get Loans, you can get loans easy, but you can't get grants, right? You need a completely new electrical system, and that will help the fires and electrical load and also the demand on the grid. Nope, can't get it. You flood and you need to fix your house, can't get it. So this is very frustrating that they want to have us pledge to build new houses, and we're a landlocked city. We don't have any new space, so this is essentially we're going to be building up. You want to see big housing, vertical installments go up. That's what it's going to be, because we don't have anywhere to go out, and we have limited land to build neighborhoods. So I'm very frustrated that the state doesn't seem to understand that we have a ton of housing stock that needs improvement. And I'm assuming everybody who might be in here that lives in one of these 108-year or 125-year-old homes knows that your house is slowly turning to sawdust, right? And your pipes are aging and your electrical is aging and the horsehair is aging in your walls. So it's very difficult for homeowners to listen to the state giving out money for cheap housing builds instead of fixing the good stock that we have or helping good homeowners. That's it. Thank you.
Council Petropoulos.
Ran over.
It's probably too late to table this, but I think it merits more discussion. I clicked the links for the state website, and guess what? Vague. I couldn't figure it out. So it sounds like this is a pledge, but for what? I agree with Councilor Pierre and the mayor in that we don't want to build up. We don't want to build ugly. Basically, when I moved here a decade ago, our buildings are about 210 years old, all right? Guess who basically hemorrhaged everything we own to make that building stable, livable? Maybe in the process we created a new standard for downtown. Meantime, I know what a lot of these houses do need, and I'm in total agreement with Councilor Peeler that this is rather vague. On that note, I do have a meeting scheduled with Assemblyman Gallahan on Juneteenth, and I could easily grill him for more information about this because a lot of these state mandates lately, or state pledges, as it were, they're very vague. So is there any way, Mr. Mayor or anybody or council, that we could table this and have a work session to better understand it?
Mr. West has a comment there. I think it's a time issue.
Yeah, so I'd be happy to answer more questions about this. There's a couple of things that I can clarify from statements that have come already. The first, one of the programs from the state that we're working to take advantage of is to repair existing single-family homes. The other program that we're looking to take advantage of is to build basically in places that don't already have housing. So one of the programs that we just applied for, the Restore program, helps fix up our downtown buildings. We're going to need to have this system moving forward in order to be competitive in these programs, things like the DRI. What this commits us to is looking at our processes, tracking how many building permits we have in a year, reporting that to the state, trying to be supportive of building and rehabbing housing in our communities. It doesn't commit us to any tall buildings. It doesn't commit us to any particular development project. It commits us to working to ensure that we're meeting the housing needs of our community.
Councilor Gilat?
So I'm a little not confused. I just have some issues or questions, I guess, but you're answering a lot of them. So your direction is going to, first of all, we're being held hostage by this thing. We pretty much have to go along with.
Well, I don't have to go after grants, but if we
you're
want to
misunderstanding
do,
me. You're misunderstanding me. The New York State's holding this on you.
yeah.
My point being, I hope, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're going to emphasize your efforts on single-family homes and revitalization of homes. That's what we need the most of. We need affordability for low-income and middle-income families. We do, in my opinion, we don't need any more apartments. We need homes. These people can invest in. And it sounds like that's the direction you're taking. As long as that's the direction that you are taking, I'm all for it. So, my comment.
Please do.
And as a note on this, on June 26th, I believe at 5:30 p.m., the county is coming. We have a special meeting of council to talk about the housing study. And so that will dovetail into this, where that study shows what we need in the community. We can utilize that resource along with a bunch of other resources that David and his staff are working on, and volunteers. I can't really say David's staff. He doesn't have a large staff, but volunteers are working on to become more competitive in these grant applications. And the beginning piece that I did mention, that housing repair list, is a part of that grant application, so we can do those repairs.
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Morocco?
No.
Counselor Brennan?
Aye.
Counselor Whitfield?
Aye.
Counselor Lavin?
Aye.
Counselor Peeler?
Nay.
Counselor Grimaldi?
Nay.
Counselor Gilat?
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos?
Aye, with reservations.
Mayor Valentino?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution setting a public hearing for the 2024 CFA and CDBG grant applications presented by David West. Pretty simple.
Yes. We're working through the CFA. I like to call the CFA the Upstate Hunger Games. This is one annual application through which dozens of state programs make funding available to upstate communities, particularly ones like ours that are not what's called an entitlement community. We don't get a specific allocation from the state of money every year like some larger communities do. So this is our main chance to get state and federal funding that flows through the state. All of these programs require a public hearing. I'm still not 100% sure exactly which programs those will be that will trickle to the top for an application in this round, but they are due in late July, and we need to schedule a public hearing for all of them. So I'm being proactive and just saying we're going to set a public hearing for any and all of these programs. It'll be a chance for community members to talk about our needs for housing and community development, and to guide and support those applications.
Need a motion on the public hearing? Counselor Lavin, seconded by Counselor Whitfield. Excuse me. Discussion. Counselor Lavin.
Just a question, Dave, how many of these grants that come from state and fed are heavily influenced by census of the size of the community?
I wouldn't say with these particular ones. So if you're an entitlement community, you become an entitlement community based on your demographics. So Rochester, Syracuse, even Ithaca are entitlement communities. Based on their demographics, they just get a certain amount of money each year that they manage for through the CDBG program. We are not, and it is because of our population. We're pretty far off from it. Even Ithaca is only as kind of a figment of past numbers. So we're not at a point of tipping one way or another on that. Our success on the applications has more to do with kind of documented community support and the ability to serve the most people.
Great, thank you.
Counselor Peeler.
What does documented community support mean?
These resolutions certainly help the feedback that we get in community meetings, and then also our history of reports. So things like the comprehensive plan that were based on a lot of community feedback. When we do projects that are supported by our past planning that involved community outreach, they're more successful.
Thank you. Also, what are some of the key demographic rubric matrices or bullet points that determine the success in acquiring, say, a community development block grant?
So the program that we put out the waiting list application for, the CDBG funds for, it can be for homeowner rehab, it can be for down payment assistance, it can be for multifamily rehab. Those programs require you to have a wait list of approximately 3 times the number of homes that you'll serve. So I ran this program for both single family and multifamily in the town of Danby when I was there. Our first application, we had just under 30 people on a wait list. We were successful in bringing in $500,000 for repairs to 11 to 12 homes over 2 years. The next year, we put forward to the same program for multifamily rental properties. A smaller program, I think we had 15 units on the wait list, and so we went for, I think, 6 or 7 in the program. So you have to have significantly more on your wait list than you apply for, so that the state knows, you know, if half of those people back out, you can still spend the money, basically.
I'd like to follow that up. So you said that the success is determined by demographics, and all the things that you just talked about are not determined by demographics. So can you tell me what the demographics are to be part of the success of winning these grants? My understanding is that I'll give examples of demographics: age, income, race. So what type of demographics are required to win these grants?
So the different programs have different requirements. So there are programs that are income restricted. Some programs are income restricted to 120% of median, some to 80% of the median income, some lower. The CDBG program is limited to 80% of median income or lower. So we're talking about teachers, people in that income range usually fit that program. You can get extra points for including specific allocations for what's called elderly frail, which doesn't sound like a nice way of talking about people who are in advanced age, but that gets you some more points for some programs. Veterans sometimes can be a target for the program. So income, and in some cases age helps, and other.
So to summarize it, or maybe dumb it down a bit, because all that you're saying is complicated for me to hear. So the less money you make and the more vulnerable you are increases the odds of getting this money?
Not really.
Oh, okay. I wasn't, okay.
Yeah.
So
You can't
we
make,
can talk
you
later
can't
then about
make-
that.
You can't make $500,000 a year and get a grant to fix your house.
But you can't make zero either?
Yeah, because it depends on the program, but your chances of owning a house if you make zero are pretty slim.
This is Geneva.
Yeah, so there are income limits so that the money isn't going to people who should just do their own home repairs.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out the success of these grants, right? How do we get awarded them? Like, do we have to meet some type of like application, like the quality of our application?
Yep,
Like, is there an
that's also
intellectual, like, are you graded on your grant? You know?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
you are.
So I think if slightly two different things are being talked about here is getting the grant award, our demographics, our population, all of that does tie into applying for the grant. As far as where we rate on that, there are some grants that because of different demographics, we rate higher under CFA and we might have a better chance. The CDBG grants, a lot of it is on how much homework have you done before you've applied for the grant. That's what puts us ahead. So things like having a housing stock inventory, having a comprehensive plan, having additional planning documents, that puts you ahead. Whereas other grants you may go for having a high population of non-native English speaking residents might put you ahead. So in this program, I think that's what you're talking more about, not the once we get the grant, who can qualify for it, but the broader terms. It's more based on how much work, in my opinion, it's more on how much work have you done and how ready are you to implement the program.
Thank you.
Councilor Petropoulos.
So all we're doing today is setting a public hearing for this.
That's all.
That's it.
Very good.
A lot of discussion for that. So my compliments to David and your limited team, because the city of Geneva historically has been very successful in receiving grants for various applications throughout the city. And one of the initiatives I think we gave the city manager is to make sure she put somebody in place that had the ability to leverage future grants, because we can use all the money we can get. So thank you very much for your efforts. And just a reminder for councils, a lot of this, even the previous resolution, a lot of this will come back to us. When we're going to make a specific decision and vote on something specific, there's going to be a lot more detail to that decision-making process. So this is just early stuff, and I really appreciate the effort, so thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Brennan?
Aye.
Councilor Whitfield?
Aye.
Councilor Lavin?
Aye.
Councilor Peeler?
Aye.
Councilor Grimaldi?
Aye.
Councilor Gilat?
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Morocco.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is a resolution to create a credit card policy presented by our city manager, maybe?
Yes, and the comptroller just messaged me to say she's on her way, so if we get in too deep, it'll be similar to Director Venuti, where hopefully she comes in. So this resolution is adopting a credit card use policy for the City of Geneva Administrative Manual. At the last meeting, we started the creation of the Administrative Manual with the policy to set forth different policies. This follows that process. The credit card policy is for Geneva credit cards. So we don't have a lot of credit cards that are currently being used by our staff, and they are mostly in our management division with a couple credit cards in our command division as far as bargaining units. But what this does is set the parameters around use of those credit cards and provides procedure on how they're utilized.
Need a motion? Counselor Petropoulos, seconded by Counselor Gilat. Discussion. Counselor Petropoulos.
I'm sorry. How does this differ from the existing?
There is no current policy. This puts a policy in place so we can
I
refer
see.
back to the policy.
Because I just, for nothing, but the wording of the resolution seemed to indicate that if we don't go for this, it'll revert to the previous policy, which apparently there isn't, so.
It would just go back to the practice that we currently have.
What is the practice that you have?
What's written in the policy.
So the manager has a credit card.
So basically, all it does is formalize what we're doing. If we don't formalize it and someone misuses it, we can say, "Oh, you didn't follow you didn't follow our procedure," but there's no repercussions for it. You'll see several of these kind of resolutions coming forward, and you will say to me the exact same thing. What do we do now? And I will say, this procedure, but it just formalizes it.
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Whitfield.
Aye.
Counselor Lavin.
Aye.
Counselor Peeler.
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi.
Aye.
Counselor Gilat.
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos.
Aye.
Counselor Morocco. Counselor Brennan.
Aye.
Mayor Valentino.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is a resolution showing continued support for the Welcome Center presented by our city manager.
Okay, so when the Welcome Center was created, there is a contract between the center with New York State and with the city. It's a partnership agreement. The state provides $125,000 for operational expenses. That is currently budgeted. Our contract is up for renewal, and the state is seeking an updated resolution demonstrating our continued support. There are no major changes within that contract. It's just a renewal.
Need a motion? Counselor Lavin, second by Mayor Valentino. Discussion.
What do we pay now?
Counselor Lavin.
Just wondered if, does that money cover our expenses?
No, it's a partnership, so it does not fully cover our expenses. It covers cleaning and some maintenance on it. We actually will be having further conversations about making that money go a little further to cover those expenses.
Just for clarification, Counselor Lavin, you're referring to the $125,000 financial impact, correct? Not for reimbursement.
Right,
Just want to
right,
make sure
right.
the public hears that.
Yep.
Anybody else? Counselor Peeler?
So last year, we didn't have to create a budget amendment for this type of agreement. So does that mean we are looking at an additional $125,000 from the state of New York in their budget that they just passed? Why do we have an additional 125 when we didn't pay it last year, the year before, or the year before, or the year before?
So this doesn't, we're not putting an additional 125. We receive 125,000 from the state.
I thought the financial impact said that there was going to be a negative impact.
Loss
to
of
the-
reimburses.
Loss of reimbursement.
If we don't, so the financial impact is referring to the alternative. It is not referring to this contract. This just moves that forward.
What is the alternative?
The alternative is if you don't go forward with this, we would lose that reimbursement.
And this is just a commitment to continue the existing contracts?
Correct.
And can you outline what those are?
So it is, I believe, and this is where I'm hoping the comptroller walks in because she negotiates this contract. It is cleaning services and general maintenance services.
So we pay that and then the state reimburses.
and the state reimburses us.
microphone, please.
Yes, the state reimburses us for the expenses. We incur the expenses, and then the state provides us reimbursement.
So,
I got,
well, right, but I wasn't
go ahead.
finished,
Go
and
ahead and
Pat
finish.
just
Go ahead
jumped
and
in.
finish. Go ahead
So
and finish.
one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about is the vernacular of the last item on the resolution, which basically says that we are going to take all measures into taking care of the visitor center. So I interpret all measures exactly verbatim. So right now we don't take care of all measures, or we don't do all things. So I was a little bit worried that the resolution appears to provide the state a parachute to drop us completely, and then we would be financially have to take the burden of the entire visitor center. And while that might not be true, I'm concerned that the language makes it true.
So I believe, and we could table this for now, and I know Steph's on her way and she can talk more. I believe this is the language that was taken from the previous resolution that just shows the increased partnership, but I can see your concern on there.
Councilor Petropoulos.
I totally agree with Councilor Peeler. I wish these points had been put in the resolution, and I'm hoping that we can table this and have it rewritten in such a way that.
Yes, I don't know where this resolution language came. Stephanie just texted and said she's parking, she's listening, she'll be right in. So if we want to pause on this, table it, and go to a different resolution, I can help on some of the other ones that got added, and she'll be in.
We will pause
the
this
last
resolution. Do I technically have to table it? Because I just want to do the last one, and then we'll come back to this one.
Well, so there's a motion currently pending. That would be your problem. So if you want to make a motion to table this resolution temporarily, then that would be my suggestion.
Well, let's keep talking just for a minute, because I think Stephanie can make it up.
I can give her a question.
Councilor Brennan.
What time period is this contract for? 1 year?
I believe so.
Effective January 1?
Yes.
Okay.
It's for current time.
So we're snapping right to it, huh? It's June 5.
New York State.
All right, okay. So, very good. One other small side question, if you don't mind. The revenue for the concessionaire services, where does that revenue go?
That is a outside entity that's contracted by the state. They receive that revenue.
How long is that contract for, do you know?
I do not know.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Lavin.
If you had did a P&L on this property, was that the 125 doesn't cover all that we spend in there?
No, probably not. Yeah, I don't know that we have a P&L on it. Most of our properties do not cover the costs. That's why they're public properties, but I don't believe we have a P&L, and I don't know that it would cover the costs.
All you middle school kids, listen up, because that just means that if they start a business, it's going to be guaranteed to go under, because it's going to lose more money than it makes.
Not every business.
No.
Well, this one, you think about how good the visitor center is, and you're right.
Oh, that arcade might make money. Who knows?
I think it will.
Councilor Petropoulos.
You start the business.
Can we make a motion to table this, or just
You
procedure?
can, but I think we're talking about actually minutes, and I was just do a little historical reference on that building myself, and I think I've said this before. Originally, that was going to be a boat museum, and Senator Zolio at the time gave us the opportunity to, it was a negative $250,000 a year loss to the city of Geneva. So we stopped that progress, and we moved on to just building a welcome center, thanks to Senator Zolio, and we had an initial building. And we did a subcontract out to the vendor there for a while, for 2 or 3 years, I believe it was. And it really wasn't fruitful for them or for us. And we were very appreciative when the state came back and said, we're gonna do a major update to this. So they added on, they put the playground in, and they did that beautiful mosaic floor. And so we are sitting here renewing a contract. And Stephanie, welcome. I think there's a variety of questions.
There are. My apologies. The baseball game went a little
No
longer
problem.
than it was supposed to.
Missing a
Does
baseball
somebody want
game.
to frame a question they previously had for Stephanie?
So I have some of them.
Okay.
I was listening. So it's actually a 5-year contract, and we are in the midst of it just because of the way that the state fiscal year runs and when they vote on their budget. So the other question was historical expenses. How much have we typically
not necessarily how much have we typically spent, but how much had total cost been. So in 2019, my apologies, I ran up the stairs. It was 123,587. In 2020, it was 108,855 because operations were shut down a little bit. In 2021, it was 139,975. 2022, it was 137,752, and in 2023, it was 129,425. I will let you know all of those numbers are reflective of a previous agreement that we had for cleaning services, as well as contract agreements for the fire system that's there, the internet that is provided, and all of those contracts have gone up. They started going up at the end of 2023. So we are currently, based upon purely utilities, which we're required to provide, and the cleaning services, we're looking at over 150,000 for the cost of total operations for the Welcome Center. So the state does reimburse us 125,000 this year. That goes up roughly $3,000 each year of the contract. So it goes up to like 127.7 next year, 130, 133 the following year. So it does increase, just it's not, the reimbursement's not growing as much as our maintenance and other expenses are growing. So if we didn't move forward with this resolution, which the state is requesting, this is their first request, looking at the 5-year contract renewal. So that's why we didn't have to review this last year or any previous years. If we don't do this, then essentially we would have the ability, being the building owner, to cut back or cease operations, certain operations at the Welcome Center. Now, that's, on the other hand, we do have a lease agreement with Market New York. That is an annual agreement that we go through every year with them. They are very successful, great tenants. We don't have a lot of issues with them, obviously. But so it's not necessarily a direct 125,000 impact on the budget that we wouldn't be reimbursed for, because you would have the ability to scale back operations. It's just the state is looking for a continued commitment from us for the partnership for the Welcome Center, because the last time this was done was in 2018.
So that's why I didn't see it brought up over and over again
Correct.
for the last 5 years. 'Cause
Right.
it wasn't an issue.
Correct. I think those are all the questions, but if there's other ones,
That was it. That was my main one.
I
Like,
can
why haven't we
answer.
seen this before? Yeah.
Council Petropoulos.
No, the answers are to my satisfaction. However, I do wish it was put into writing on this resolution. I somehow, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I can't help feeling that, we're being asked to gun deck this, as we used to say, just not think about it. Stamp, 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 off you go. No, does the state want it yesterday?
Yeah, so that's why it's being brought to you, is we're going through the contract renewal. We provided the budget, the same process that we did in 2018. We've had great communication with them. It's going to a new office, essentially, that's reviewing the contract. And so my point of contact came back to me and said, any chance you can get an updated resolution, because that's really what they're requesting.
So I guess my follow-up would be, what are the chances we're going to chat that on this? I mean, again, there's nothing specific in the resolution. Do I trust the state? Toss a coin.
Well,
how do we know we're not going to get the butt end here? Just
because we ultimately own the building. So it's our building, so you could operate it just like any other building, where if the state decided tomorrow that they didn't want to give us what was in the contract, we would come back to council and say, here's 125,000 that's currently in a revenue line on our 2024 budget. We're not going to get that. So then we would do a budget amendment, which would be for part of the operations for the Welcome Center that are in excess of the 125 that we plan on getting.
That's exactly what I said.
with a white elephant,
Okay, one at a time.
In that case, we would end up with the building that then we would have to come up with how we would want to operate that building and what we would do with the building.
So 2 questions.
Sure.
One, do we get anything from our lease agreement?
Not as far as like revenue payment or anything from them. It's just they are solely responsible for expenses and maintenance of the cafe of it. So we don't have to pay for that part of it. They take care of it.
So I guess it feeds into my next question. Is there negotiation opportunities with the state based on our expenses, or is there negotiation opportunities with the lease agreement with the tenant to cover costs?
I don't necessarily see an opportunity with the lease agreement to cover costs because the additional costs that we're incurring are outside of the market area. So the cleaning and the utilities are outside of that. We have been in conversation with our contact at the state, letting her know that the amount that we're receiving for reimbursement isn't covering our total expenses because we've seen increases. So she has asked us to change the way that we're submitting for our reimbursement request. So what we're doing is we're submitting the actual quarterly expenses that we've incurred and then basically backing off to drop down to the maximum amount that we're able to claim for each quarter so they can see what we're actually spending. And then she said she can't guarantee anything, but that's at least going to give her information that she's going to go and have further conversations with.
Great. And if we could provide any support from our assemblyman or our senator, that might be helpful.
Mayor, if I may, Stephanie has done a really good job of negotiating this over the last 2 years and putting in things that maybe previously into our lease agreement may have previously not been covered, but are operations expenses. Right. And so I think that's one of the things that she will not sell herself on is we've already started to negotiate that and have those conversations. And even during times like the solar eclipse, there was a lot of things that they wanted to happen there, and we were very well, because of the relationships, able to say to the state, if you want this to happen, you're going to need to do it because we can't provide that.
Councilor Lavin?
That all the numbers I've ever seen for the Welcome Center make it one of the leading ones in the state.
Yes.
And it drives local tourism. It's a node for us. The only thing that I always like transparency, so to know what the contractor is making, an annual report on their profits and loss.
For the lease agreement?
For the
you mean?
lease agreement. I'm not sure we ask for that, but
It's certainly something we can ask. They've been very forthcoming, but
if you
They
have
do provide an annual report.
Yeah.
This council hasn't seen that annual report yet because it's not out.
Right.
But they do provide an annual report, and I believe they did provide it to council last year. I know you have a quote in it, and I usually have a quote in it. So I know it's out there, and we'll make sure you guys do get that. They do provide an annual report.
that it's almost break even might make it your leading investment.
Okay, so we're down to calling the roll on the resolution, please.
Counselor Lavin?
Yes.
Counselor Peeler?
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi?
Yes.
Counselor Gilat?
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos?
Aye.
Counselor Morocco?
Aye.
Counselor Brennan?
Aye.
Counselor Whitfield?
Aye.
Mayor Valentino?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Our last bit of new business was added to the agenda. It's a resolution amending the general fund budget and sewer fund budget for sewer repairs, and I'm not sure who's presenting that.
I will start it, but if I need backup, I know my staff are here. So this is authorizing the comptroller to amend the 2024 budget, both the sewer fund and the general budget, to cover the repair work that we mentioned previously on Castle Street. This was an emergency repair. We were notified last week about a potential line backup. Under further inspection, it was determined that we needed to excavate, inspect, and provide any necessary steps. This is an up to $75,000 for repairs. I don't believe we'll even get up to that.
25.
No, 75.
Oh, we changed it? Okay, back.
Yep. I don't believe we'll even get up to 75. It's still in process, but I think that it's close to being fully repaired, and we will actually be at about half of this amount. But I wanted to put it in so I don't come back to you next month and say, yeah, remember that repair? I thought it was $20,000 or $30,000. Now it's $170,000. So that's why it's an up to for the comptroller to move.
I need a motion. Councilor Petropoulos, second. Councilor Gilat, discussion. Councilor Petropoulos.
This isn't a Band-Aid fix. This is, we'll do what we got to do for the sewers, but I don't want to hear a month from now, the one 20 feet down broke, and now we need that's my main concern, and I wish Mr. Venuti were here. He could assure me, but as long as we're not taking a Band-Aid approach to our water mains and our sewers,
So this is a lateral that runs in. I can't guarantee that any of the other laterals may have similar problems next year. They are all connected, but this was an approach to fix the lateral that needs repairs. On that, two other notes while I still have the floor. It will bring our general fund balance down to 4.3 million and our sewer fund balance to 1.5 million. And that includes any other budget adjustments that happened. I know that's always a number that council likes to know.
Councilor Peeler?
And just to make the taxpayer know what that means, we're not going to raise your taxes or your water bill. This is going to come out of our savings account.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Peeler?
Aye.
Counselor Grimaldi?
Aye.
Counselor Gilat?
Aye.
Counselor Petropoulos?
Aye.
Counselor Morocco?
Aye.
Counselor Brennan?
Aye.
Counselor Whitfield?
Aye.
Counselor Lavin?
Aye.
Mayor Valentino?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Next is appointments to boards and commissions. Do we have any?
We don't have any. We do have an update to the public. We're still looking for board participation in the planning board, the Board of Zoning and Appeals, and the Recreation Board. And I believe a press release will be going out, or if it's not out, it'll be out soon. So interested city residents, please apply for that board and any other board that you're interested in. We'll get you interviewed and we'll continue the process.
Thank you. Next is Mayor and Council reports, and I'm going to start to my left at Councilor Whitfield, and I'm going to ask you to autonomously pass the baton because I'm going to step out for a second.
Summer recreation sign-up still available at City Hall, full and half day. That's it.
Okay, I'm glad I got my name's at the end of the alphabet. I'm usually at the end of this. So, all right, so the Ward 5 report. First and foremost, I would like to give a public shout out to the students from the Geneva Middle School Student Council for coming down. And I know A.J. Moore just left, but I'd like to thank the president, Marco Palmisano, who's not here, the vice president, stand up there, Dylan Wiesner. We have the secretary, Corinne Rufo, and the treasurer, I keep wanting to call you Sage, Amelia Gerling. They're here. This was their doing. The petitions for real. We'll go on with this. And on that note, at noon today, we had a meeting with the LDC where Local Development Corporation, for those who don't like abbreviations. Anyway, we had a meeting, and I did pitch the idea of an arcade, letting them know that the students would be in. I'm going to follow it up. The only bad news, I guess, my plan A, the bank on the corner of Seneca and Exchange, that's been sold. I was going to say it's next to our buildings. The good news is there are numerous other locations. I've talked to Miss Catherine Price from BID already. It was an informal chat, and I've already been challenged to an air hockey wager, so it's for kids of all ages. The other thing I pitched today at the LDC, which I had already started, to replace the soon-to-be-closed Family Dollar all the way up in north part of Ward 5, I would like to see, and others I've spoken with would like to see, a small IGA, an independent grocer like Big M and Ovid or the Old Medallas, take its place. Why? That would help solve the food desert problem I hear about all the time. And it shouldn't be too difficult. I know we can't get on all these. They're a franchise. I thought about maybe a Trader Joe's, but that would have to be bigger. This is where you have a food desert, so I'm hoping the LDC will follow through with that. I'll stay on top of them as best I can. And let's see. All right, just for general, whether or not you live in Ward 5 or anywhere in the city, there have been garbage complaints around town. I've gotten 3 or 4 in Ward 5. Now, there is a complaint email, which you may or may not know about. It's, and get this, it's easy, complaints@geneva.ny.us. My wife complained about the garbage. I don't care if you're First Lady of Ward 5, complain like everyone else. So I'm going to pass that along to everybody. Any problems, questions, give me a call. The only other thing I have to report, and I'll be very quick about this, there is a rumor going around that a methadone clinic might be opening up on 116 Lewis Street, right in the heart of Ward 5. Now, Councilor Gilat and I have been getting questions from constituents. I will say it's only a rumor. and 25 plus years in the military taught me the rumor mill can get ugly, so we'll leave it at that. As I understand, on the 20th of June, we are going to have a special meeting unless...
We are not.
We are not.
We have to reschedule that.
Okay, but nothing's going to happen before that special meeting.
No, so what you're talking about is council will be meeting with the property owner at some point to understand better their services. But,
Exactly.
that will be rescheduled. That was a hold the date while we figure out the scheduling, and we want to have the entire team here, and they will not be available. That
Very good. So just to let you know what I do know, and this is all I'm going to say, my experience with methadone clinics differs greatly from the experience we got in our email. Going to high school in the South Bronx, looking out the city bus window, it was ugly. I'd rather have a car wash there any day. So my big question, I asked 12 questions, which has so far gone unanswered by city management. I understand that. They may not have the answers. I've also been lectured that zoning law is this big untouchable bugbear. We can't do anything about it. Who makes these laws? People that live in far better off neighborhoods that are telling us we got to have this problem. So I'm expecting answers to all of those questions, every last one of them. I'm not just going to sit back, roll over, and let them do what they like. We could have big problems. Is there a plan? Is this something we can look forward to getting more citizens back into productive society, or are we enabling a failed social experiment? That's what I would like to know. I'm certainly going to grill the property owners when the time comes. So we're not going down without a fight here. Constituents are already like, huh? So we'll leave it at that, and we'll wait for the meeting, and, hopefully nothing will come of it before that meeting. With that, I pass it on to Councilor Gillette. Thank you.
Yes, I don't know. Okay, I have two reports. Police Budget Advisory Board met in April and May. In April, they just organizational meeting, at which time they voted Anthony Noon as their chair. And then in May, Police Advisory Board met with representatives of the Geneva Police Department to continue discussing ongoing efforts to seek implementation of mental health personnel to assist with responding to calls of that nature. The board is continuing to explore ways they can gain this opportunity for our city. The board agrees that this is vital to our community to have such an additional person with this background on staff. They look forward to the ongoing conversations around this. The board will meet again next week to review the Geneva Police Department budget for the upcoming fiscal year. At that time, the board will also begin deliberating on the recommendations regarding budgetary items. So that's it on the Police Budget Review Board. And bid, and you might need a little help at the end here. So, bid news, no bus left behind. Chris, what's your name again? I would call you Kat, so. She discussed this briefly, green initiative to combat cigarette litter. Bid received a grant for Keep America Beautiful. Includes, as she told you, 12 cigarette receptacles, recycling bags to ship butts to TerraCycle to convert to plastic pellets, and 200 auto ashtray cups. Seneca Street and Exchange Street plantings with native perennials will be complete by the end of the week. Light pole painting will resume next week. They took the last 2 weeks to prepare for the Memorial Day and get all the new plants, hanging baskets, planters, etc. in place. Kayak primer info session, how to get started, June 8th at 11 a.m. See and feel the difference in kayaks, paddles, and other equipment with our hands-on presentation. Special attention is given to kayak safety and choosing your first kayak. The Paddle Fest will be June 29th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Boats and gears will be provided at the lakefront. This is a family day for those who have never paddled and want to see what the excitement is all about. All activities are free. Various clinics, presentations, and demonstrations will happen during the event. First Friday, June 7th. It's a big list here, so it's kind of like briefly go through. If you want to add anything, that's fine. A lot of different places involved. 5 p.m. the Phoenix Flavors, which is a new place. Grand opening, ribbon cutting. That'll be 5 p.m. on June 7th. 5 to 7, the Dove Block. John Loftus and ARA McCorkle with music by Smooth Groovy. 5 to 7 at the Enora, which is a very good restaurant, by the way. Kind of a hidden gem, I think. $7, the BAO buns. 5 to 7 p.m., Geneva Gelato, free upgraded cone with any gelato purchase. 6 to 9 p.m., sideshow bar, $1.50 off all drinks. 6:30, live from the Linden, endless mountain derelicts. 9:30 p.m., derelicts again. 5 to 7 p.m., Lake Trump Brewing, Ryan Patterson and August Bush. 7 to 10 p.m., F2T Kitchen with Spencer Savos. I don't know. 8 p.m. Smith Opera House during the Gaelic Storm, which I heard is very good. 8 to 10 p.m. Las Carrasas, DJ Susan, I'll butcher this, Ribnica? Is that familiar? Okay. Full day on first Friday, June 7th, so come downtown and enjoy it. It's awesome. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, so I do the Housing Authority, they're doing well, sorry, thank you. They're remodeling some of their units, so every time I go, they seem to be getting 5 or 6 more units made up. Otherwise, everything's good with them. Is there anything you guys want reported? Nothing special, okay.
Thank you. So the planning board did not meet last month, and I don't have any report from the planning board. I do want to make some public announcements and some special thank yous. I want to thank all the folks who ran the Seneca Lake Trout Fishing Derby over the weekend. I want to re-congratulate all the winners. I also want to send a special congratulations to my dad, Captain Bill Peeler, who took 3rd place in the seniors division, breaking the 60-year-old Peeler curse, as my grandfather won the very first fishing derby, and no one has ever been on the board since. So that was a big moment. I saw my dad act like a little kid for 2 days straight, and it was amazing. It's unforgettable for my boys to be there with it. I also want to thank everyone who was involved with the Memorial Day Parade. I want to thank Donnie Wheeler. I want to thank AJ Frado. I want to thank the American Legion, Geneva Recreation, DPW, and the Geneva BID for putting that together. And if you haven't seen the Hometown Heroes flags all over town, I want to thank those guys as well, because they look awesome and they bring a real sense of patriotism and beauty to our downtown. It was, in my opinion, overdue, and it looks awesome. If you go to all the other communities in the Finger Lakes, you see it. And Geneva was kind of last to the table, and I think we got it right. I also want to make an announcement for recreation on Sunday, June 23rd at 2 p.m. in Jefferson Park. I'm going to be hosting another annual Frisbee baseball clinic. It's free. There's going to be free Frisbees and snacks. Anybody can come, any ages. You're going to learn how to throw a Frisbee. You're going to learn a game called Frisbee baseball. We just finished rototilling Jefferson Park again, so the park is ready to go. And if anything happens like it did last year, it turned into a pop-up picnic at the pavilion, and we all had sandwiches and went to Subway and turned it into a picnic. So that'll be, again, Sunday, June 23rd, 2 p.m., Jefferson Park in Geneva, open to the public, completely free. Thank you.
Your Honor, at our last meeting, we voted not to restrict taxes for the next year, and to, in the wake of a reassessment, it resulted in a whole lot of phone calls to me interestingly, from both ends of town, where the wealthier residents and more pricey houses now in the 600,000 and 700,000s on South Main Street, and from the other side of town where rents continue to grow. And I don't want to be a nattering nabob of negativism, but I think we do have to come as a group to understand that there's a slow burn happening in this community, where some houses now are so expensive and their assessments are so high that, lacking some restraint and some lack of growth on taxes, you'll have people being asked on a house with no mortgage on South Main Street to pay $25,000 a year in taxes. And that makes those houses almost unmarketable in the future, even at the high price, as we had to do with the Dove Block. We had to reduce the price 50% to find somebody willing to take it on with the tax burden that came with it. So I think we're going to see, and I had several people calling saying that they're seniors who don't have a high income anymore to write their taxes against, say they're going to sell these houses, get what they can for it, because they don't believe that we're going to rein this in any way. And that those sales, in my opinion, will be largely to people who will look for other ways to either cut up the houses into more units or to do Airbnbs, because they're just not, they're too expensive. Who is going to come to Geneva, pay $700,000 and $25,000 a year for the rest of their life in Geneva on a house like that? The other end of town, where rents are getting high even as the units are being reduced, where we're seeing families having to look outside of Geneva, and they've lived here all their lives. So I think we have to, I'm not going to ask again for some public demonstration of concern for taxes, but I think we do have to realize that this is the financial dynamic that's happening in Geneva now. And as we now put more houses into Airbnbs, both of those, that economic dynamic is going to happen, where houses are going to be too expensive to operate in any way other than an Airbnb, and we're going to have eventually a reduction in our census, which will reduce the CBG grants that we're seeking. So I don't want to be a harbinger of bad news, but I think we have a real difficult economic condition in this community. So to that end, I think we need to start P&Ling virtually everything we do as a community. While things don't have to make money, I think we have to understand that if the GEDC building is costing us more to hold than it is to operate, we have to make some decisions about that sort of investment. And if we are going to look at all of our spending with a critical eye, but also look for opportunities to persuade and encourage the kind of efficiencies that could happen with a combined DPW or fire departments with the town. If the town wants to use water and sewer to grow its tax base, they need to understand that the ramifications for the rest of us on building out there and leaving taxes unpaid in the community. So this has all been reinforced to me, not by out of my own head, but by calls from some of the leading citizens at one end of town and some of the very concerned citizens at the other end of the town that were letting this go unaddressed, that were not even acknowledging that our taxes remain so much higher than surrounding communities, that we're not being competitive. Building new houses, any new house built in Geneva would probably bring a tax bill that exceeds its mortgage at this point. It's an argument, it can be argued about, but that's not a sustainable future for us economically. So this is what the last month has been for me. Stopped in the street. I wish we had a second supermarket so I didn't have to go to Wegmans and get all the stops of people. But I do think we need to take this more seriously and be more public about it than we have been. And I thank Mr. West, who has impressed me to no end, that his mastery of the GEDC building. He gave me a tour, and I was both impressed by the building and daunted by it. And again, I'd love to see a P&L, and I know a study is being done on the viability of that building for the IDA. But I'm also was stopped by, this is unrelated to the economics, but the people in the Solar Village, which I guess is in Ward 1. I have to look at the map again, Your Honor. But they're concerned that the road that takes people into that facility hasn't, the dedication hasn't been complete, and then they're wondering how we're going to handle that. I passed it on to the manager. That's not an issue specifically for me to handle, but anyway, that's my report.
Oh, I was just going to jump in just to clarify that the city doesn't own the GEDC. The IDA does. So it's not paid for. Actually, the city gets a really, really good deal on space in the GEDC from the IDA, but the city isn't losing money on it.
The question of ownership is, can be argued there, where you have the city getting paying 28 cents a square foot for the DPW space, and the city police evidently using a massive part of the building for storage and paying nothing, and the IDA paying money to maintain it. Just questions. I don't know the answers to these things, but I think it speaks to the efficiency and what's your time worth. We sell the place for $1 and get a developer willing to put 10 million into it. We can walk away from it. But anyway.
Several things, some of them lighter. But also I have to agree with Councilor Lavin. I would like to suggest that we would take perhaps a 5-year view or maybe a 10-year view of what our growth of the city means and what their current subject of tax rates and tax levies mean. We do have a disparate collection, if you will, of real estate in Geneva, New York. We have some very expensive homes. We have some very inexpensive homes. We have a variety of properties. We all know this ground very well, but I would recommend again that we put together perhaps not just this council, but other individuals, perhaps some individuals from the college, some economics professors that would know this stuff. I'm sure Amy and David would know consultants that could also be called upon to give us a better bird's eye view of what we're really facing again in the next 5 to 10 years. The lighter things are, thank you to Nicole, who put together some of our wayward ways with boards, oaths, and commissions. Some of our individuals that were appointed to boards were unable to complete their oath requirements, so they became, if you will, null and void. She put that all back on track. So is Councilor Peeler and Councilor Gilat. They've helped put things back on track again, so I think we're in good shape. The Shade Tree Committee wanted me to report that they miss the services of Mark Perry because he provided a great deal of institutional knowledge as well as hands-on work, but budget cuts were unable to keep him on board. They would hope that next year they could somehow find a way to have Mark come back. I've done my job there. The other small thing is that the HDC is also on track. We elected Jerry Buckley to be chairman, which is interesting because the vice chairman is Tim Buckley, but that's okay. Jerry was glad to take the job, and that should see some activity in the next couple of months because there's some projects at Hobart and William Smith they're anticipating. Small little things, but it's good to have that be in good shape again. That's it.
Okay, I attended the Ontario County Rail Corridor Subcommittee, Steering Committee, excuse me, for development of Area 2. It was in I was in Phelps at the community center there. And we're going through the next stages for the development, and I just want to say that the focus on Geneva, not only the rail yard off of 5 and 20, but also the rail that goes through the city of Geneva. The rail yard probably has more potential if Northern Suffolk decides to open up their south-north route, which would be very beneficial to Finger Lakes Railway. But I think we're going to, in the next 2 months, we'll start to have community input, and that input, I'm directing it towards our Welcome Center, so we can have it there and have an open forum there and get all the community input on the rail corridor that'll take place there. They're actually going to have 2 community meetings. Out of this will come an advisory of next steps. There won't be any decision making. There won't be anything specific except for what they feel would be the best options for economic development by any railroad changes. Lastly, I'd like to thank Deputy Mayor Peeler. I heard he gave a great speech at Memorial Day. I'm disappointed I missed it, but I appreciate that, and I echo his comments of thanking all the parties that were involved in it. So thank you very much. Okay, next is a motion to adjourn. Anybody? Councilor Petropoulos, seconded by Councilor Gilat. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.